Russia's decision to move troops into eastern parts of Ukraine stands to test a potentially powerful partnership that then President Richard Nixon warned about during the Cold War back in the 1970s. A Moscow-Beijing axis that would line up against the U.S. and its allies. This is not a secret. Russian President Vladimir Putin and his counterpart in China, Xi Jinping, meeting earlier this month face-to-face at the Olympic Games. Of course, that received worldwide attention, especially since Xi Jinping hadn't been seen in public since he decided to meet with Russia's president. And the two nations have long had a partnership, a relationship in confronting the West, specifically the United States. Joel Rubin is a former Deputy Assistant Secretary of State who served in both the Obama and Bush administrations on political military affairs. He joins me now from the nation's capital. Joel, good morning.
Good morning, Adrienne. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for being with us. You know, this is just a fun game for Putin, I would think, and Xi Jinping at this particular time as they watch to see how much panic they can stoke in Ukraine and around the world, don't you think?
Well, certainly birds of a feather flock together, as they say, and they do seem to have a lot of alignment in how they're going about their business in their regions. We see Vladimir Putin dismembering Ukraine right now and threatening Europe. And then we see Xi on the other side threatening Taiwan on a weekly basis and really making Asia very nervous about where he's going in terms of expanding China. So there's a lot of similarity there, but the relationship as well is not so equal right now. And what's fascinating about this moment is how Vladimir Putin has essentially subordinated himself to Xi Jinping, to China, because he'll need their help economically if and when sanctions come on against Putin's actions in Ukraine.
You have these two joining forces once again, we can just say, and you have the U.S. and NATO. What does the U.S. have in its arsenal to strategize against these two leaders?
Well, what we have is democracy, and we have many democracies around the world. If you add up the world's democracies in terms of global GDP, it's about 50%. Russia and China combined, 20%. And so we have to work closely with our allies. And this is what's been very effective and quite frankly, masterful by the Biden team in terms of the moment of dealing with Russia, is that they have unified us with our allies, unified our Western democratic partners in a opposition to Russia unilaterally taking over another country. And that's going to be the roadmap for the future with Asian allies as well, if China goes forward and goes into Taiwan. And that's something that right now this test is being watched by Beijing. And Beijing is wondering, how will the West stand up to Moscow? Will it stand up to Moscow? And up to this point, we're seeing that unity of purpose, which is crucial for the long game in terms of dealing with this rivalry.
But should we be considering what the next move would be for President Biden and this administration? Should China really step up in a more public way to support Russia? Do we have any equally powerful sanctions that we could use against China?
Well, we certainly have to make sure that the moves to sanction Russia are effective. And if China backfills Russia and begins to trade with Russia in violation of those sanctions, then those entities from China need to be sanctioned as well. And we're looking at also a unique feature in our economic punishment program beyond just sanctions from Treasury, which are significant enough. There's now a real effort by this administration to use the Commerce Department's Export Control Authority as well to prevent American components from being exported to Russia, work in different economic sectors of Russia. That can hit China as well. That's a very powerful tool that deters the private sector from engaging. And so we're going to see this punishment towards Russia and see how effective it is. And so will China. They will be watching to see the impact. But if they're backfilling, they're then tied up in that sanctions net.
You've worked again with the Obama administration and with the Bush administration. What do you think is unique about President Biden's approach this time around?
What we're seeing right now from President Biden is a real willingness to proactively engage and stay connected to our allies with a tough line. That is a very pro-American position, but it's also very pro-democracy position. It's a pro-multilateral position, and it's what the American people voted for a couple of years ago in putting a candidate in office who understands how to repair alliances and why they strengthen our security abroad. So this is global leadership. And President Obama, he was a very strong leader. But what we're watching right now with Russia is a different approach. In 2014, the sanctions were incremental. Right now, what we're looking at with President Biden is a very powerful package just about to be unleashed, a much heavier hand, and he's got our allies behind us. And that is a very strong leadership role for the United States.
Joel Rubin, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of State, we really appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to click on the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.